entirely different Ranger team of aliens, mind you. This is also the show that it adapts created this meeting. So, all right, Power Rangers Zeo. So, since MMPR was starting to become a bit more expensive to make, they decided to go the cheaper route and adapt another Sentai. The cast would go through rather drastic changes and would be almost unrecognizable from the start. New villains would be introduced, such as the Machine Empire. The season would end up having some behind-the-scenes controversies, however. Before we get into that, we gotta talk about the Ranger changes. Now, Tommy, who was the Green Ranger, and then the White Ranger, became the Red Ranger. Rocky, who was the Red Ranger, became the Blue Ranger. Adam, who was the Black Ranger, became the Green Ranger. Kat is still pink, but it's different. Tanya replaced Aisha, who was initially the Yellow Ranger's replacement. Then Jason, the original Red Ranger, came back to the show, but this time as the Gold Ranger, although technically that suit is black. And finally, Billy, we're gonna explain. So, unfortunately, David Yost was the original Blue Ranger, and he received heavy abuse, heavy verbal abuse during his time on the show. And this was due to the fact that he was openly gay, working on the set of Power Rangers all the time. He'd often be called this and that, different types of slurs on multiple occasions. And eventually during shooting for an episode on CEO, he was called a certain word far too many times and left without looking back. He would make a return to the franchise years later, but I mean, it wasn't his perfect return. It was still some stuff. Now we're going to Power Rangers Turbo. So the original Sentai they adapted was actually a parody Sentai, but they tried to make this into a super serious show. It just, I mean, it didn't really work out. They got a movie to that was like the introduction to the season, and Rocky gets replaced by a kid, like a 12-year-old. No one liked it. Most of the cast gets changed halfway through, and even though I would say the season gets a bit better with the cast change, it's still not great. And honestly, there's nothing good about this season. Nothing. Except this.